What's up, everyone? So I'm making this video right now as a opinion, or at least reaction towards the new Masters of the Universe TV show on Netflix. I kind of ruined it for myself slightly at the beginning because I had looked at a couple comments on the thread on Facebook. However, I when I did read it, it was very negative, and what it said on there basically. And by the way, spoilers alerts, just in case if you guys are gonna want to watch this and haven't seen the show, I recommend you watching it and having your own opinion on that, which is what I did. So I went ahead and basically just watched it. Mainly for first and foremost, honestly, because obviously Kevin Smith is the showrunner, and I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I love most of his work on everything, honestly. Now, disclosure. Aside from the spoilers, by the way, I'm not that huge of a He-Man fan. Maybe that's why I liked it. Telling you ahead of time. But I know enough to basically mm, to basically understand all the concepts of the story itself, all the main elements of it, I should say. So I guess I could say I was in the middle. I was kind of like the new fan and the old, but not so much the old and maybe a little bit more, but yeah, more like 50-50. When what I noticed a lot of things on this show is they toe the line very carefully in the middle, while at the same time not afraid of basically putting something new and holding on some of the old stuff that actually did work. So pretty much what they did is they took everything that did work, uh, that worked on the old one, took that, put in the new one, and they added some new elements on there, or i.e., I guess you could say common sense, whatever. Usual tropes basically were like, for example, if in the first episode, Grayskull is like gloating, like, "Oh my God, I did this!" Right at the beginning of the episode. I am the Lord of Discretion, and the sorceress isn't waiting for him to finish it. She just blasts him away. Bam! No, I'm not gonna let you finish your monologue. Floating. Stuff like that. Basically, it's the little things that a lot of people don't notice that make the huge difference. Yeah, and I honestly think one of the comments, again, spoiler alert, by the way, is that they took out the main two characters of the show. That made the show, obviously. One of the key things I've noticed, because I went back and watched it again, is the show itself isn't called He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. It's just Masters of the Universe. So therefore, Masters of the Universe were essentially not just He-Man, it was the people basically that helped them. They were referred to themselves as Masters of the Universe. They're not out there. Again, my opinion. Not saying I'm not an expert on anything, but I'm just letting you know from my perspective that that's what I feel like basically what Kevin Smith and everybody else was going for. Uh, there are a few things basically here and there that are kind of like unnecessary, but uh, I liked it. The cast, honestly, I freaking loved the cast. The moment I heard the moment I heard Tila, I was like, Buffy? What? Um, Duncan, Man at Arms too. The moment I heard him, and this is actually coming from somebody that just freshly watched uh Game of Thrones. I benched that. I actually got HBO Max just so I can watch and finish that. And I benched it too because it was funny. I think one of my friends made a comment. He's like, "Damn, you finished all that in I think it was about a week or 2 weeks." I took my time. Maybe I didn't binge it, but yeah. Uh, yeah, and there were so many familiar voices and ones I didn't even know, like Alicia Silverstone, Dennis Hayden, yeah. Yeah, there was Kevin Conroy. That was a huge one. If you're a huge the 90s Batman the Animated Series, I was like, Wait, what?" Yeah, and it was pretty cool actually. The whole entire cast, honestly, I think was amazing, especially, and I mean the two legendaries in there, Tony Todd and Mark Hamill. Freaking love the way basically they do their lines, especially Tony Todd doesn't even need to do it. His voice is just perfect that way. I mean, honestly, Mark Hamill isn't either, but knowing that how Skeletor sounds, and then Mark Hamill kind of put his own distinctive spin to it. Because I was joking around. I was like, Joker, what? When Skeletor was talking. Newsflash, by the way. Yeah, spoiler alert. Again, he's Skeletor. Um, but yeah, I like there's certain points of the show where obviously the very first episode sets the tone for the rest of the show. Uh, and in this aspect, it's a very short show. It's like 6 episodes. But six very nicely written, very nicely packed, episodic. But at the same time, there's an overarching story. And sometimes that's actually very hard to do. In this one, they killed it, in my opinion. Yes, you take out the two main characters, but again, like I said, the show in itself isn't called He-Man and Masters of the Universe. It's called Masters of the Universe Revelation. Uh, but at the same time, in that same playing devil's advocate, almost every episode has a flashback to where Hela is having with either He-Man or Duncan, or it was just He-Man and Duncan, yeah. And she has to kind of think of her new way to approach it, because after the very first episode, some time passes to where time has, you know, change basically has obviously come with time, obviously, pretty much, and as with anything, even in reality. And when she's trying to approach a certain situation where she's at this point just has a new occupation and everything, uh after obviously in the first episode, just so you know, at the end of the episode, as I said earlier with the comments, is that both Skeletor and He-Man slash Adam are taken out with a big explosion by virtue of Skeletor doing something stupid. Yeah, and He-Man and Adam have to come and clean up, and unfortunately this time it wasn't as pretty as all the other times. So, by the very first part of the second episode, she's essentially just sort of moved on, or at least she thinks she's moved on. And she moved on in a sense to where at the end of the first episode, she blames basically the tragedy on magic and the monsters that it makes of it. That's literally her line, which I love actually. And she gets more angry because she was the one basically left in the dark, aside from Randor, Adam's dad. She essentially leaves her position and everything. She's like, I'm done with this. So at the beginning of the second episode, she's essentially moved on. She has a new friend and a new job too, where she apparently is recovering things for other people. She somehow basically gets tasked to helping uh the sorceress and Evelyn fix what happened years ago. So, just to explain it, when basically Skeletor came in to Grayskull and tried to do whatever stupid scheme he usually normally has, he was essentially trying to take Grayskull's secrets, which essentially is also the fountain of life for the whole entire Eternia and the surrounding universe of it, which is usually magic that overflows and just gives life to everything else. In doing so, he essentially tried to grab everything for himself, uh, but it didn't go as planned. It resulted in a huge explosion to where He-Man had to come in and absorb everything onto his sword, which then the sword itself actually broke. It broke and revealed basically it took out the enchantment from He-Man to where it revealed as Adam, and they all go basically in a big, huge explosion, both of them. Uh, yeah. So during the second episode, you've seen basically, when Teal basically has left the castle, mad at everyone else, and including even Adam and Magic itself too. By the time the second episode, she's recovering stuff and brings it back to her first client. She tries to basically, you can tell basically people are still kind of holding on uh, to that old ways to basically revering magic, and she's trying to basically show the priestess whom she basically who was her client, how she recovered said relic. She tries to basically sell her idea to, which is essentially they engineered a device to where it tracked the metal and everything else. Essentially, pretty much like tracking anything. Obviously, the priestess is like, she just kind of walks away quietly. She's not interested, basically. This episode kind of actually showcases, I think, in my opinion, is Tila is kind of like Kevin Smith, while the priestess is kind of like the fans that are kind of mad about the fact that the two main characters were taken out of the whole entire, at least majority of the entire show. Um, but like I said, the way I look at it is that there's more to the show, and the fact that the flashbacks in each and every episode that showcase both characters in them doesn't necessarily take them out. Uh, Again, my opinion. Not saying I think that's how it's interpreted. It can be interpreted so many different ways. I'm not saying I'm right or you're wrong, or you're right and I'm wrong. It's just the way I look at it. Uh, yeah, and like I said, eventually, uh, the way that basically they did this show is beautiful because it showcases people from different backgrounds coming in, and they have a common thread, a common issue to where they have to fix it. Uh, at the at the end of the show, essentially, it's shown that Adam isn't technically alive, but he isn't dead either. But he was kind of given a reprieve because for his service rendered, as it was delivered in the line. And Skeletor isn't dead either. Surprise, surprise. Because surprise, surprise, like an evil guy, evil bad guy trope. Basically, he gets away and tries to hide somewhere while until everyone does the work for him. I like the way it ended. Now I know it said no spoilers. I don't want to say exactly how it ended. However, I'm gonna leave it to you guys if you want to watch it. But my opinion on this is I loved how the show basically mixes in the old and the new and created something different. Uh, it's not so much departure from the old, but it's not so much go forward into something new to where it becomes something unrecognizable. I think both fans can appreciate it, the new ones and the old ones. The old ones, basically, especially if they take the time to actually watch the show very carefully and understand it. Uh, and I feel like basically this matured basically the maturity basically of creating the show is perfect for the old fans that obviously are a lot older now and used to watch as kids. You watch this basically from an adult perspective, and I honestly, from my perspective, I loved it. That's at least my opinion on that. Um, and it leaves basically a hint towards a second season, and I hope honestly that Netflix and Kevin Smith actually go forward with a second season. That's just my opinion on this right now. If you have any other opinions on it, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to talk about it. I would love to hear everyone's opinion, regardless if it's against me or with me. If anything, please enjoy the video and like, share, comment, subscribe. Have fun. Stay geeky.